I'd like to welcome everyone to the One Ohio Recovery Foundation Board Meeting, December 14th, 2022. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 11:39. Will the secretary call to roll to establish?
Great. Thank you everyone for being here. On behalf of Cohatch, I would like to note that there are bathrooms in this back corner here and emergency exits are behind us. Let us call the roll. Bambi Bond.
Here.
Julie Amon.
Here.
Jeffrey Fix. Jeff Fix not currently present. Mir Chahandru.
Here.
Bill Hudson will be absent today. Don Mason.
Here.
Greta Mayer. Greta is not currently present. Glenn Miller. Jeff Simmons. Not currently present. Jeff may return. Catherine Whittington.
Present.
Jeanette Rosbicki. Mike Beasley. Not currently present. Josh Cox.
Here.
Judy Dodge. Judy is present virtually. One moment, Judy.
We see you, Judy.
Yep.
Okay,
You're muted.
okay, I'm here.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Denise Driehaus.
Here.
Thank you. Keith O'Hoddle.
Here.
David Mattia. Not currently present. Dwayne Picciarelli. Dwayne is here, he's just muted. All right, and Eileen Shapiro is not present today. Tom Gregoire is here. Larry Kidd.
Here.
Jane Portman. I see Jane is with us virtually today. Michael Roizen.
Here.
Thank you. Christopher Smitherman. Christopher is present virtually.
Present.
John Clark. Not present today. Richard Brown. Not present. Evan Claymeyer.
Here.
Thank you. Rob McCauley. Not currently present. And Gail Pabliga. Also not present today. Thank you.
And Greta just came in. Present.
Greta Maya is present.
Jeffrey Simmons. Here.
And Jeff Simmons. Beautiful. Thank you, everyone. For the sake of our online participants, when you are making a motion or seconding today, please state your name and speak loudly so this poor speaker can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you. So we included in your packet today a contact information sheet on the second page. Please make sure that you're checking that, and if there are any changes, please get them to Jules, and we'll get those changed. Also, if you can see my name, my contact information has changed. So for those of you who had my contact, please change the information to reflect the information that's provided today in the packet. At this time, I would like to introduce Michelle Parrish. Michelle is going to be replacing Jules. Jules is stepping down. She is going to pursue another opportunity. So we thank Jules for her service and helping her train Michelle. But Michelle, do you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I just moved here from Florida and it's just as cold as I imagined. So if you see me doing this, it's just me trying to acclimate to the frozen tundra. But I look forward to working with all of you.
The foundation has the phone number now, and so we are excited for that. That number, is that in the packet, Jules?
It is not.
Okay, that number is 614-398-3348. And Jules and Michelle will get that sent out.
It is also on the foundation's website, on the contact us page, as of this morning.
Great. At this point, we are going to just go ahead and move into our item for action. You have the October 12th, 2022 board meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review those? May I have a motion?
All right, Julia.
Any discussion? Any opposed? Motion carried. Next, you have the excess benefit transaction policy. Has everyone had a chance to review that? May I have a motion? Motion to approve, Dana. Any discussion? Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we have new contracts for, the communication and media services. For those who put in here, I don't. Still, for the
The
contract,
contract is not on the board. With a brief description that will be provided.
pardon me.
I believe that was to describe the contract briefly.
Okay. So the two contracts, so when we hired Convista, we had one contract for two servers. We had Kevin Bingle, who was doing our web-based services, and then we have Connie Love, who is doing our communications, media, and working with that. Those contracts are up for renewal. There is a small increase, and we are separating out the contracts. We feel that the contract should be separate. They were fine for the first 6 months to have them together. But truly, they're two different entities, two different companies. They should be individual contracts as we move forward.
Our Wi-Fi is completely out. But can you mess with this? I want to get off here and I want to put it on here.
So the contract for both of them, when we entered into an agreement at the beginning, was a combined total of $10,000 a month. So now we are moving to $3,000 for Trust Digital,
3,500, I'm sorry.
3,500, sorry, I apologize. 3,500 for Trust Digital and 10,000 for Convista, or two contracts per month. Are there any questions for them?
Did we even attempt maybe to see if we have any other applicants or other industry partners maybe to do this kind of work or more?
So we went out to RFP in June, and this is the renewable part of the contract.
So when you said that something increased a little bit, can you tell us please which one increased?
I can answer that.
Okay, good.
Yes, the increase was the 35,000 a month for Trust Digital. That is our web services. 3,500, my apologies. And that covers our web services, our website, and our digital marketing, among other things. That is the increase, and that is what is being broken off into a separate contract. Then the 10,000 a month is for PR services and our lovely money. Thank you, Krisha.
Thank you.
I can't see that. Is there anything that you'd like to point out in your contract?
No, the work is a continuation of what we've been doing for the past 5 months or so. The amount in the contract reflects what the board approved in July for strategic communication and PR services.
Do we get a minimum number of hours per month with that contract?
So there's not a minimum number of hours, but I can tell you that, Connie and I talk almost daily, in regards to what is happening with op-eds, editorials, what's happening in the news, what we need to respond to, what needs to be put out on social media. She is in constant communications with Kevin in regard to the website, getting things updated. So there is not a number.
I mean, I know there's a lot going on right now, but this is for
This is
a long time frame, and we need to make sure that we've got it.
And so this contract, is for 1 year. It is renewable, and if at that time we feel, or at this time, we feel that hours need to be put in, we can do that. Please remember, if there is something going on, if we exceed hours, there's going to be no more rate after that. Right. We're getting more than what's, this is very, very easy. Any other questions? Any questions from anybody virtually regarding the contracts? May I have a motion?
So moved, Jeff Davis.
Second motion, Don Mason.
Any further discussion? Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next we have up the 2023 operational budget, and for that, I'm going to turn that over to Jim.
Yes, in your packet, I believe, and on the screen here is what we're calling a provisional budget, because much the needs of the foundation have yet to be determined. There is a grant making process, and how that all unfolds when we receive the money will determine that we may need additional resources depending on how grants may be managed. Many of the costs in the budget are costs you've already approved. This continuation of the cost that you've already approved. In the budget, we do have with $0 grant position. So we thought we're going to have a grant position. We didn't put a dollar amount to it. We don't know what the grant position is actually going to do. Yes, right. But we wanted to get it out there and say, this is probably something that we're going to need down the road, right? There may be other grant needs, but those will be determined. So we have the executive director starting in June. Right now, we have it at the rate of the MOU. If that should change in any way, we'll come back at that time and adjust the budget. We have the board secretary, CFO grant position, And sometime around April, when things really start going as far as spending money, we're gonna need someone to keep track of all that. Some segregation of duties, right? Anything on that area, right? Professional services, include contracts that, one of the contracts that Catherine was just talking about. It also includes what we're calling it, what's called a PEO. PEO is a professional organization that does HR, benefits, retirements, processes paychecks, file taxes, all that kind of stuff. So when you actually have staff, employees, then you're gonna need someone to manage that, file the taxes, process the payment. These companies that we're looking at also have things like learning management systems. Right, learning management systems, where you can fit in courses and people can take courses. Eventually, there could be a set of courses that new board members come and they would go online and they review, right, as far as that. And then we have an amount here for, at the last board meeting in October, you approved 35,000 for a CPA, right? The CPA to do some work. We've contracted this year well under that, 8,000. They're working on a 501c3 application. They're giving us some tax advice on our accounting methodology. We recently put out an RFP for next year, right? Sent that to a dozen CPAs around the state, looking for what services they would recommend. So out of that may come multiple contracts. There may be someone that does the audit, there may be someone that does our taxes, and there may be someone that helps with things like some of the staffing positions we have above us. Some of the accounting firms offer CFO type services, comptroller type services. That may be a way to go in the future, right? Then the last section, overhead. Those are some of the same costs that we have today. We kind of added in 100,000. We're going to need a grant system and an accounting system. In my talks with Salesforce, Blackbaud, some of those, this is kind of a range based on volume money that foundation will need. So obviously, the grant process comes out, obviously. Back for a budget, that number may be revised down or up on the needs. Any questions?
So the $75,000 from legal counsel, does that cover our defensive frivolous lawsuits? So does that cover our defensive frivolous lawsuits? We have not received that. So we have a litigation. You said that's the bill on the litigation yet?
I'm having trouble.
So the $75,000, is that just a retainer, or does that cover the lawsuit defense as well?
I think that's it. It has to do with what you know, ours, the bulk of the litigation is taking place and invoices are out for the most part. So, to an update.
We have 150,000 this year to cover those expenses.
Okay.
Of which we've received no bills yet.
Okay.
And then the additional 75, so we're anticipating approximately 225,000 between this year and next year.
Both retainer and defense bill?
There was no retainer.
See, up until recently, the attorney general's office was paying more. Right. And then, I don't know what day it was, but recently that stopped. So that is not reflected in these numbers because it was a part of it. Okay, so moving forward, we do have a litigation piece that can come and just general counsel, but we have some other bills that we're not going to receive yet, right, Warner?
Yeah, I can check and see. We should have had bill for the November time, the December time bill has come out.
So we allocated 150,000 this year for legal services.
Okay.
Next year, we're allocating 75. This is all provisional.
It does, it does not, it would not cover any large lawsuits. So if you have other lawsuits,
Right.
we may have to come back depending upon what.
Talking about the
That
two,
is-
talking specifically about the two that we're involved in today.
Oh, two that would be well,
Yes.
I would advise that borders into litigation strategy, maybe it would be suitable.
Thank you. I just want to say this.
Any other discussion regarding the budget for actions?
I would like people to comment, as Jim had said, this is provisional because we only have the bottom half of the budget. Which is the operating budget, we have the revenue side, because we still don't know exactly what that looks like. So we're gonna come back to you when we do know that, and get a full budget through, hopefully January. Maybe February, or thinking of it probably January. So anyway, so we're asking for provisional, we're letting you know what the expense has been, what our estimation is for 2020.
And at this point, we can't even estimate the revenue because we don't know what
Right.
the settlement amount will be, will be our question. Okay, may I have a motion to accept the provisional 2023?
So the sheriff on this.
Second, Jen Davis.
Second,
Thank you. Any further discussion? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair, make a motion to go into executive session. Second, Jen Davis.
The purpose of the personnel and litigation strategy.
Hey, Jules and Michelle. All others.
I'd like to do a roll call.
Roll call or roll call vote, Madam Chair? Roll call vote to go to executive session, okay. Of those who are present, Bambi Vaughn. Julie Amen,
Yes.
Jeffrey Fix.
Yes.
Mircha Handru,
Yes.
Don Mason,
Yes.
Greta Mayer,
Yes.
Glenn Miller,
Yes.
Jeff Simmons,
Yes.
Catherine Whittington.
Yes.
Not able to vote in this chair. Jeanette Ruzbicki,
Yes.
Josh Cox, Denise Dreehouse,
Yes.
thank you. Keith O'Hoddle,
Yes.
Dwayne Picciarelli,
Yes.
that was a yes. Tom Gregoire,
Yes.
Larry Kidd,
Yes.
Michael Rosen,
Yes.
Christopher Smitherman. He's saying yes and he is on mute. Thank you, Christopher, and Evan Claymeyer. All right, thank you. We have a vote to enter executive session for anyone who is currently on the Zoom meeting.
Jane.
Oh, yes, Jane.
hi. I finally got on here a while ago and I just wanted you to know that my vote is yes as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I apologize. I skipped you in our thing as I did, I believe Judy Dodge.
Yeah, yes.
All right, Judy also votes yes, thank you. Board members, I'm going to place you into a breakout room. Please accept when I do that. For anyone watching on the Zoom meeting, please remain in the meeting and we will resume once the executive session is ended. Thank you.
And I would request that everybody except for Jim, Bonnie, please leave the room.
Thank you to everyone who waited on us while we were in executive session. The board members are now returning to the main meeting and we will resume the meeting as called in a few minutes.
Well,
Folks, can we do that one more time so everyone can hear us?
Like to make a motion to come out of executive session. Second. Any questions, discussion? Okay, first and second, any questions, discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Chris. Can everybody hear us?
Folks on Zoom, can somebody give us a thumbs up if you can hear? All right, thank you.
During the executive session, we had discussions regarding personnel issues related to the fact we have a vacancy in executive director. So we discussed what some of our options are. Having made no decision at that time, I'll now turn over to Larry for a brief explanation of kind of working efforts and going into this role.
So to reiterate to the board knows that we're in for the executive session meeting. Catherine and I have been working as volunteer board members to help along with Finish and some of our contract employees with Jules and Jim to help get through the committees and other work that's required in our organization. And a couple of months ago, Catherine and I had a discussion that we're just not moving fast enough, and we think it would be beneficial to have an interim executive director, as the search firm say, it could take up to 6 months, meaning sometime in late June before we get somebody in that executive director role seat permanently. So we talked about what that would look like. Catherine volunteered to move into that position. We discussed it. We agreed that for her to do that, she would have to resign as board chair and also her board seat. We contacted the appropriate parties, including ethics, the attorney general, and the governor. They all blessed that we got approval from outside counsel, which also approved the move. We discussed moving Catherine from a board seat and chairperson into an interim executive director at a rate of $50 an hour, which is less than the published MOU rate, not to exceed 30 hours a week. And she would be permitted to continue as a commissioner during that interim role. If Catherine chose to apply at a later date for the full-time interim executive director position, she would be on the same playing field as any other applicant. There would be the same scrutiny as any other person, and there would be no favoritism shown to her. So with that said, Mr. Vice Chair, I would like to make a motion to move Catherine into the interim role at the time of her resignation. Second, Jeff Dix.
And then as vice chairman, I'll open up the floor for discussion. Hearing none, then I'll.
But I'd like to make a question here now. In the executive session, thanks. In the executive session, I didn't hear how this would actually benefit the foundation. We have the grant making committee hasn't really met yet. We haven't formed an expert panel yet. Is this going to speed the process in which funds are distributed, and if so, how so?
Judge, it's our opinion that there's been a lot of, and I realize you've joined the board late, you've been to 1 or 2 meetings, so you haven't seen the history of the evolution of this board, but we really haven't made the progress that we would like to see. The grant making, we're continuing to work on that, working with getting the funds in play, establishing the committee, the policies and procedures. Some of them have been done. Thank you, Benish, for the ones that have been done. There's still others that need to be done. As a volunteer board, it is very, very difficult to move very quickly. And I can tell you that Catherine has been working sometimes in excess of 40 hours a week, in addition to her current job. If we have boots on the ground, we also, as you had heard in the executive session, there's a lot of misunderstanding throughout the state of what we do. And we feel while the op-eds and the published articles are beneficial, they're not as good as in face-to-face meetings. And it's very challenging for a volunteer board member to run the entire state of Ohio to give these presentations, without, some kind of plan in place. And this would allow for that.
Is there any other discussion? I apologize for not looking at the screen earlier. Hearing that, then I'll call upon a roll call.
Before we, hello, before the vote. I just want to thank Catherine for taking on the role. And I want to put, I think the majority of members of the board are excited about her position and taking on this interim role. We understand the risk of it. And really just reiterating, as I said in our discussion, that we will continue with the national search and we will follow the process. We will present those recommendations to the governor, who will ultimately make the decision. But having said that, Catherine has been doing a lot of work, and that this is an opportunity for us to continue, I think, to move the work forward faster. And so we're looking for those milestones. I think that's what the judge is indicating. He's asking the question, how do we move this? Are things going to move faster? And so we're hoping that we will see that kind of progress with this decision today of moving Catherine into the interim position. So I just want to welcome her and thank her for taking on this position. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Smitherman. Is there any further discussion?
I'll make a very short comment. Catherine, thank you for be willing to accept this role. My hope is that by having you as an intern, we can probably speed up the process to draw the money down, to have a point of contact person. The communities desperately need the money, for what we're creating to do. So I'm interested.
Again, any further discussion? The motion is to appoint Catherine to be the acting executive director effective upon her resignation from the board. It will require a roll call vote. I said interim. Acting or interim.
Okay. Anyone who is present via Zoom, please unmute yourself and say aye when your name is called, aye or nay, rather. Bambi Bond.
Aye.
Julie Amen.
Aye.
Jeff Fix.
Aye.
Nir Chahandru.
Aye.
Don Mason.
Aye.
Greta Mayer.
Aye.
Glenn Miller.
Aye.
Jeff Simmons.
Aye.
Jeanette Worsbicky.
Aye.
Josh Cox.
Aye.
Judy Dodge.
Aye.
Thank you. Denise Driehaus.
Aye.
Keith Hoddle.
Aye.
David Nataya.
No.
That was a nay. Thank you. Dwayne Picciarelli.
Yes.
Thank you. Tom Gregoire.
Yes. Aye.
Larry Kidd.
Yes.
Jane Portman.
Aye, yes.
Michael Reisen.
Aye.
Thank you. Christopher Smitherman.
Aye.
Thank you. And Evan Flaymeyer. Thank you.
The motion carries.
I don't know what to say now. I know I have to resign right now, so, at this time, I would like the board to accept a verbal resignation with a letter that we sent to you by the end of today's business day, memorializing me stepping down as chair, also from the board and also from Region 13. That letter will also be sent to that region so that my region can be replaced as soon as possible. Thank you.
Then she has formally submitted her resignation to the board. We'll just do a voice vote to accept the resignation. Then all those in favor of saying accepting resignation, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you. So she is the interim or acting chair, actually has a position as ex officio board member, laid out in the MOU. So at this point in time, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Larry Kidd as chairman of the board and Keith Hockenell as the secretary to the board.
Second, Jeff Biggs.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, then we'll have a roll call again.
Same as before, anyone on Zoom, please unmute yourself to say aye or nay.
Bambi Bond,
Aye.
Julie Hyman,
Aye.
Jeffrey Fix,
Aye.
Mircha Handru,
Aye.
William Hudson. Oops, sorry, he's not here. My apologies. Don Mason,
Yes.
Greta Mayer,
Aye.
Glenn Miller,
Aye.
Jeffrey Simmons,
Aye.
Jeanette Worsbecky,
Aye.
Josh Cox,
Aye.
Judy Dodge,
Aye.
Denise Dreehouse,
Aye.
Keith Otto,
Yes.
David Mattia,
Yay.
Wayne Corelli,
Step away.
Dwayne has stepped away. We will count him as abstaining for this vote.
Tom Gregor, Brent White,
I just came back.
Oh, here.
Dwayne, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Tom Greg Wall.
Aye.
Oh, there he is. Dave Portman,
Aye.
Michael Rosen,
Aye.
Christopher Smitherman,
Aye.
Evan Kleinmaker, Blakemeyer.
And apologies for the record, we did call Keith's name for the vote. That vote will not count since Keith is subject of the motion. Apologies on that.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Sorry. No.
Get our dish. Okay.
All right.
So the motion carries. With that, my brief stint as running this committee. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for your vote. So we'll just jump right into the items of discussion. This was show, so we'll let her continue to talk about it.
Okay, so in your packet, you received a expert panel application and policy. This is the first draft of this policy, so feedback, welcome, discussion welcome, and things that we want to keep, things that we want to change. So I will open it up for discussion. Thank you. I would like to make a clarification or suggest a condition, and that's of people who are doing the work in the field. We talked about how important that is. And I know healthcare and also sociology. But what I didn't see were a few types of experts that really, again, in the state of Ohio are doing the bulk of the work, masters prepared, counselors, social workers are referenced, but I think naming counselors, as well as psychologists and other, maybe we make a broader term, behavioral health, treatment and supportive service providers like peer support, people with lived experience who are certified. So maybe just a reference beyond social work to some of the other professions that we reference. I know we have some other folks in the room that have this expertise, so I'd be happy to submit some suggestions to you. That would be great.
And specifically on the expert panel members, I see the American College of all these different entities. And somehow we left off Lawrence State.
Okay.
And so I would like to include the American College of Lawrence State in that list. Yeah, like, sure.
That's yeah.
This is pretty difficult to hear. Could the person who's speaking, if they're going to speak for more than a minute or so, go to a microphone?
Yeah, so like Jules and Michelle, could we talk with and Jim, could we talk at Cohatch and see if we could get microphones put in the future?
We can certainly try that for future meetings, yes. I will make a note of that. In the meantime, anyone who is speaking, please pretend that you are talking to a bunch of very old people who are very interested in what you are trying to say and enunciate correct or very precisely. Sorry, that was more people who are perhaps hard of hearing and need the extra help. My apology.
That was for me.
Just be loud.
One of the other things that appears to be missing is something around in the attorney legal, something around court representation. I know there's a lot of work that Judge Matei does in drug court, along with some of our judges as well in Stark County and other places. I do think there needs to be representation from that, and Brett, I'll be glad to throw some names in a hat for behavioral health as well. Folks that I know.
Any other suggestions? So what I would like is for you to formalize your comments and send them to me, so Greta and Keith, and anyone else who, if you want to take more time, I would like to present maybe a final draft at the January meeting. Just so that we can really start this process, getting our expert panel application out there, getting applicants, and getting that process moving. So if that's all on the policy, I'd like to go to the application. And are there any suggestions, changes, deletions, rewrites?
I'd like to hear a little bit more about their actual experience. We've asked if you did this thing, that, you do it since last week, and we've done it for 10 years. It's a little bit more about their credentialing experience. And I would reiterate, I think it's in there, but anything we can do to send a message that we are particularly interested in person's lived experience. You know, I'll send
Don't you think
comments.
that have you been personally been affected by the avoid it?
Yeah, maybe it's sufficient, but that.
To make it sort of wording of the, yeah, so maybe we just need to, can you get me,
Yeah, Brenda and I are gonna work on something together and get it.
okay.
So Catherine, perhaps we could set a date by which you would accept feedback on the policy and the application.
So I would like feedback to me by Friday, January 6th.
That gives you time to get it prepared for the meeting.
It will give us time to get it prepared for the board meeting. You'll get it. Now, we'll meet ahead of time when you'll get it, but with the holidays, I don't see how we could push that date really up any further.
As long as we have a date, we know when you can shoot feedback, so we don't spend much time today.
Nope, we don't, and that Monday we'll work to, I'll work with Michelle to get that out as an addendum from the packet in the January. Along, I'm going to turn it over to Connie, for a communications update.
Thank you. Thank you all for letting me come and give you a little update on what we've been working on. I know we spoke, or I spoke to you in September. We've had a lot going on. I know some of you have heard from me.
Need you to speak louder, please.
I don't know if I can project more than what I'm doing, so I'll do my best, but there's not a mic. Jules, you can go to the first slide here. Jules, could you go to the first slide? So, a second, my real slides. Thank you. So just as a goals, as a reminder, when we first spoke back in September, it laid out what our role is as a communications team and what our goals are to support the foundation. And ultimately, what we are here to do is to help the foundation carry out its mission, which is the ultimate goal of saving lives and helping Ohio recover from the tragedy that has been the ongoing drug epidemic. And so everything that we do on the communication side is always geared toward that goal, with that goal in mind. So our first, priorities that we had for 2022. We wanted to first just introduce the foundation to Ohioans, and there are millions of Ohioans. This is something that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of repeated information getting out into our communities. And what we were doing over the last 5 months or so is really laying the groundwork and putting the tools in place that would help us really take off in 2023, which I'll talk about more in a little bit. But over the last 5 months or so, we've focused on, who is the organization? What is the mission? How can groups stay engaged with the organization? And then also, obviously, build the tools to make sure that we have the ability to communicate more directly with stakeholders all across the state. As we all know, early on, the first few months, we didn't have a website, we didn't have social media, we didn't have email systems where we could be sharing information. In August and September, all of that launched. We've been putting together things on a regular basis to keep Ohioans updated. We've had dozens of Ohioans go to our website since then and sign up to receive updates. So those tools are working, and we're going to continue to build on those in 2023. But just a quick recap of some of the things that we've been doing over the last 5 months or so. And as Catherine mentioned earlier, we are in regular communication with both Catherine, Larry, and other members of the executive committee. And I know a lot of you have heard from me, and you volunteered to author op-eds for us as well, which is continuing that public education piece of all of this. But the very first thing we did back in even July was start to map out a strategic communications plan to make sure that everything we were doing was working back toward that ultimate goal of supporting the foundation's mission. And, again, the first thing really to help communicate out who the foundation is and what's going on with, day to day was to build the website and build those tools. And then, now that we have those tools in place, since, the meetings back in September, we've done the post-meeting recaps that go out to the stakeholder list, which includes media, other interested parties. Everyone in this room should be getting those. And then, we've also built for our board members a communications toolkit, which we'll be working to put on to distribute to all of you, which includes a presentation, a speech outline, and other talking points that you can access and utilize. So if you're out in your community, you need some of those resources from the foundation, you can easily go and if you're asked to go speak, for example, at your local Rotary, you have that deck easily accessible. You can run through it. It's very scripted if you need it. Obviously, it's there to be a resource, not to tell you how to present the information. Your local communities best, but we wanted to provide that additional support to you as we continue to really ramp up the local engagement in 2023. And, in December, even in the last couple of weeks, some board members have had an opportunity to do some initial stakeholder engagement. Just last week, Tom and Catherine were on a panel at the County Commissioners Association talking about Ohio's continuum of care. They joined other addiction experts around Ohio for that, and we put it out on social media. Similarly, Catherine spoke to another group in early December, the Ohio Justice Alliance for Community Corrections, and we talked about that. So in the coming year, we'll really be doing more of that proactively, but we've had some of that initial stakeholder engagement and those opportunities early on, and we're trying to share that out with our stakeholders. And then I think, the most obvious thing I think people associate with communication professionals is the media relations side. So I wanted to give you a snapshot of, what we've been doing and what it's produced. So since, August, September, we've had about 20 positive placements hitting newspapers and other media outlets around the state. And so this is both a combination of the meeting recaps that are part of the public education piece that I talked about, but also the op-eds that our board members have authored that have been placed in outlets around the state. And all together, those proactive positive pieces have had an impact of about 5 million impressions. And an impression is kind of it's an imperfect science to measure it, but it kind of means awareness. So people may have seen it. They may not have memorized, every word of what was said, but with all the outlets that we've hit and with the reproducing of the content that we've pushed out there, that's the imperfect communication science number that we would put. So compared to where we were in May, we've had good growth on that public awareness side that, again, we're just going to continue to build on in the next year. And I would mention that we expect at least one more op-ed to run in early January in the Canton Repository by Keith. So that's teed up with them. Should be coming out soon after the first of the year. If you haven't heard from me yet, just get ready because I'll probably be calling on you after the first of the year. There are lots of newspapers and outlets around the state. We want to keep pushing these out. It takes people a long time to absorb information. There's a lot of information to sort through, and so every opportunity we have to be talking about progress and the goals of the foundation, the better off we'll be in the long run. So the next couple of slides have some snapshots of where some of the stories have run. We'll go to the next slide. And then also, a few months back, there wasn't always a voice for the foundation in articles, maybe that we weren't generating, but we were reacting to. So the foundation's had a voice in almost 450, 500 stories. I can tell you that number will go up here soon. There are a couple of stories that will pop shortly. So, we're putting out the foundation's information, the foundation side of, what the mission is, what we're focusing on, and we're getting that into these stories that may have otherwise been left out. So that's also an important step. So for 2023, and I've talked to Catherine about this and Larry and others, my priority is really to get in front of the stakeholders very directly and be in the room, or at the very least in some kind of virtual meeting, to talk about what's been going on and what the immediate priorities are for 2023. We've all talked about how everybody is really anxious to get moving at a faster pace, and sitting in a room with our local communities, region by region, but also other associations, whether they're behavioral health associations, healthcare associations, law enforcement, local government associations, going directly to these key stakeholder groups in a meeting. This is who we are. This is what's happening. This is where we see things going in the next 6 months. All of that helps people understand, I guess for right now, what to expect coming up in the next 6 months, because we know there are a lot of questions that we don't have answers to, but we at least can sit in the room with them and go and get feedback and share updates. And so that was, something that I really wanted the foundation to focus on now that we're moving into kind of the, we've gotten through the first, 2022 first few months, got a lot of those key policies in place. Now let's get out into the communities and support you as board members also with members of the executive committee. Now, Catherine, going and talking to your regions very directly and providing that, direct foundation to region and other stakeholder group engagement that I think is really important. A lot of these groups also, especially you think about statewide associations, a lot of them have newsletters or other ways that they communicate with their membership. So we would want to try to get an op-ed type article by Catherine or Larry as board chair now in there explaining kind of the same thing that we would have done in an in-person meeting, but for people who maybe couldn't attend, we're hitting the membership again with some kind of article. And then we're using those meetings as a way to make sure that the people who care about the issue and are in the room, are they on our stakeholder list? Are they getting the updates from us? How can we make sure we're keeping in touch with them? And then with Kevin on the digital side, we're going to build out a newsletter that we'll start to put out in early 2023. That'll just be another tool that we'll use to share information on a regular basis moving forward. And then, more generally, as we're going around the state and we're doing meetings with the region, we'll also try to tack on maybe a newspaper visit. Maybe there's a local Rotary Club meeting where we could do a presentation there. So we'll look for other opportunities to really amplify that engagement. If it's a very specific stakeholder group, what else could we maybe do to make sure that it's not just going to that one group, we're also reaching beyond the stakeholders that are especially engaged in the issue, but talking to the public at large as well. So we'll constantly be looking for those opportunities in the coming year, in addition to, like I said, continuing to try to pitch op-eds and letters to the editor to do that general public education piece. With the interim executive director, and then as the process moves forward, we want to make sure that key stakeholders, whether they're elected officials, leaders in the community, leaders in the behavioral health space, they know who the face of the organization is, and we're doing that introduction work as well. And then obviously we have work ongoing with just the organizational structure of the foundation, and if there are needs on the communication side, we'll be there to support that work, whether it's the IRS decision or whatever else, to make sure that the foundation has the resources it needs to, again, continue to move toward achieving its mission. So that was a quick snapshot, but happy to take any questions you all may have. Yeah.
Apologies if I missed it, but what is your expectation for coordinating with you if individual inquiry?
Yeah, I encourage all of you to call or email or text me if you get media inquiry. I know I've talked with a number of you as things like that have happened. I think we can make sure, Michelle, that the board has my contact information if you don't have it already. As I mentioned, we've put together a toolkit also that has some basic talking points on some general issues that you could reference theoretically if you needed something right away, kind of internalize that so you can pull it out quickly if you need it. But I'm always here. Please don't hesitate to call or text or email. Like I said, happy to field those questions for you or help you if you want to speak for yourself.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else? Moving right along.
Thank you.
Marty, do you want to give us, do we need to go to the session?
I don't think so. There's really a lot there. We still have not received a decision on the Franklin County open meetings case. I just emailed my litigation partner to make sure something didn't drop while I was here. Or I don't know if you're saying that. We did get a briefing schedule from the Supreme Court on the case, which is said before, it's slightly different case because of the different statute and that for various tests under public records and are not in place in the Open Meetings Act. Case law. The Department of Ohio brief was filed on December 8th, so our reply brief is even December 28th. If anyone wants to communicate with our team in terms of probably responding to it, happy to do that. I sent it out. I sent the Department of Ohio brief out to Josh and I'm not sure I do on that email. Yeah, but there are no surprises in the agreement. You just respond. So that's all excuse me, that's all I know on that subject. The remaining thing on Dennis's plate is to get the 1023 application finalized to the IRS. Waiting on a conversation with the points.
Jim, do you have comments there? Great, going to the committee reports, the audit and finance. I am sure that we'll need to step down from that. But what update, the way we currently have it set up, with Huntington Bank, they've been working with the $8 million operating funds. There have been some severe restrictions on getting things done on a timely basis. There are a lot of controls in place, which aren't all bad, but and then Jim working for an outside company is limited on what we can do. But I think Huntington's policies have made it very, very challenging. Frankly, to do business, and I'll let Jim weigh in on it. So I did talk to key banks. They were one of the 3 or 4 banks that we discussed will be approved. Huntington and the third, and while we haven't used the third, Key also has an investment firm section or arm to them. We've talked to Don, who also serves on Kent State's investment chair. You're the chair of the investment committee. He's comfortable with Key and their ability to do short-term investments. Obviously, we can't put any monies in long-term, but they have the ability to sweep money back and forth and allow us to gain a few extra dollars in interest, where Huntington would seem to be a little more limited on that. So I'm not suggesting that we completely leave Huntington, but I would suggest that we add Key as one of our banks. There's no harm in it. They're bigger than the other 2 anyway, and they have a very strong investment department. I think they would very well benefit our cause, and they are the largest holder of government funds in the state. So they own all the treasurer accounts. They understand that business. They understand short-term sweep. We can gain a few extra dollars, a point or so, but it adds up when you're talking about the kind of money that we owe. So anyway, I'd look for a motion to add Key as one of our things.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to add Key to our now 3 banks.
Thank you. Second, Jeff Diggs. Any question or discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. And with that, as I mentioned, I need to step down as chair of the Audit and Finance Committee, and Jeanette has so graciously offered to take that role. So thank you, Jeanette, and I will give you the handoff baton.
I think you have the mind of an auditor.
The great oversight, we have Tom on board, but there is not much to update at this point. We have the meetings scheduled, we canceled meetings for various reasons, trying to get the group together, but now we have Tom. I think you're going to see this committee move pretty quickly, so in January we will have an update. Any questions on the great committee? Separate. Oh, yes. And then the executive search committee, we, had engaged, some of this might be because I remember what the date was, but we did engage with Kittleman. Michelle Stadler, the managing partner, came to Columbus to do some face-to-face meetings with some search committee board members. Get their perspective. She's calling other interested parties about what their perspectives are before they start the actual search, so they get a feel. If you are interested in talking to her, it's about a 30-minute interview. Please let me know and report your name to them, to the firm, and then they can give you a call and talk to you about what you think should be and the qualities and the success factors of the next executive director. So, any questions regarding that? Diversity, inclusion, Catherine, I'll turn that back over to you because you've done a lot of them.
So, we had a draft DEI policy, and we have had multiple discussions in regards to hiring a DEI expert to check our policy, but also to work with the board. So the first step was to have somebody review our DEI policy. So we actually worked with Rhonda Talon Knight from Knight Consulting Firm. And she has reviewed the DEI policy and made some suggestions. So I'm hoping that everybody had a chance to review those. I know that we're going to be looking for some feedback as well. I'd like to have that feedback as well back on January 6th. If there's any changes in wording or any of those, but Rhonda did take her due diligence and go through line by line of the policy and make her suggestions. Are there any questions? Anyone for suggestions where will we call them? Any suggestions? Should have red line.
The policy included in the packet has incorporated the suggestions. If anyone would like to see a red line version, I'm happy to send that after the meeting.
I would like that sent out
Will
so
do.
that everybody can see what the suggestions that Rhonda actually made to the draft policy.
Thank you.
Any questions regarding? Great. So hopefully by January, we can improve that. And just before we move on, there is a point of discussion I'd like to address. We have a lot of opportunities for speakers, training. This is one of them, diversity inclusion. Another one is, grant making. There's an individual that, we probably would want to engage with. It'll help us with that, make sure we do the right things. The Attorney General's office is actually here and they want to make a presentation. Some of these presentations will take anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. And I know your time is valuable. So we can do a couple of things. We can either incorporate it into a board meeting, or we can, pick and choose and maybe put some on a portal where you can watch it at your convenience. Ethics would be another one that we should, not that we're required, but it'd be good to go through ethics training for all of us. The commissioners, you've already done that anyway, but for those that haven't. So I can think of maybe a half a dozen things. We could either do live meetings or we could do meetings through the portal. I just wanted to see what your preferences are. Some of them will just absolutely have to do live, and that's fine. But again, we really struggle to get quorum. It's so great to get everybody together. I don't want to take up all the time with presentations that you might find more beneficial just doing it online.
The more we can do at our leisure, the better, because time is valuable, especially during the day. So if someone can watch it at 8 o'clock at night, get the same content, I would appreciate that.
But I do think it's important that we track, we complete these things and then we know, especially something like that. We know the work.
Some of it will be, will have to be certificates of sign offs, others will probably be informational. If Tony finds something that's extremely beneficial, that isn't a requirement, if it could help, we won't necessarily require to sign off, just if you want to see it, it's there, if you don't, well, so yeah, ethics is one we probably will want to see.
Yeah, specific to that, and with respect to grant making, I had a couple of conversations with the Attorney General's office around the requirement we're all going to have to participate in an ethics training and come up with a practice for how we get it divide that issue.
No, one of the systems that we are looking at, that Jim talked about earlier, just have the LMS components, which we would be able to upload trainings to it, that you would be able to watch. We would then be able to track who has seen them, certificates, those sorts of things. There are some items that we are not going to be able to put in the LMS system, but we also know that the Attorney General's office offers training, that free. We have governor's office. We have a wealth of information out there on trainings that we as a board will need as we go forward. And we will start collecting that information and getting that to you as they come about. That is a priority for 2023, is to make sure that we are getting the training that we need as a foundation. So hopefully once we have a system in place, we will be able to start working on getting the trainings in and getting you guys up either at your leisure, or depending on, we may have to have a board meeting where we have a short deal of business. But we will work through those legit.
Any other questions you want to in the virtual crowd? Any questions or comments? One thing I do want to go back to the grant making, and one thing that Tom and I had talked about earlier today is that, and I'm sure many of you recognize, this is a great new organization that's rolled out, a startup, and at least I don't, but many of us probably don't have the expertise in grant making. And there are consultants out there. I think Marty referred one to us at an earlier date that can help us get through this process and get through it quicker. Well, Catherine will be our interim executive director, somebody with this level of expertise, which is our most important committee. I think an investment in this consultant could be quite beneficial. And Tom, I'll let you speak to it, but it's my understanding it's about $30,000 for the fee, which is, it's a big number. But I think if we do this right, we only have to do it once, and we won't make any mistakes if we follow the consultant, because they've done quite a bit of them. Tom, if you could speak to your conversation.
Sure.
With the conversation
with Marty, you referred us to Claudia Harold.
Tom, if you could speak way out, I know the guys on the line.
Oh, sorry.
Please come around to the front of the room by the speaker so we can. See, I don't have an indoor voice, so it helps in these situations.
I got new hearing aids for the first time a month ago, and I feel like I'm screaming all the time. Claudia Harold is with Philanthropy Ohio. You introduced me to her. I had about a 45-minute interview with her maybe a month, 6 weeks ago, to talk about the issues, to talk about what value she might be able to add, and to talk about the experience with statewide grant making, working actually with tobacco settlement money and setting up processes to distribute that. I was really impressed. I asked for a proposal, which I've shared with the executive committee, and I do think getting somebody like that with skills, the role would not be in decision making. Decision making is up to the board exclusively, but the role would be helping us build faster infrastructure to disseminate the funding. So that's my recommendation, and hope that we can move that way. It will help.
Anybody have a second?
Yeah, the sooner we get that moving, that's what we're here.
So that's a second.
Yes.
We need a motion on the board.
I'll make a motion.
I'll make one. Yeah, a second. Any questions or discussions? Thank you for your work.
Yes. Marshall?
I think I shared this with some of you guys, I just struggle, keep adding more operational costs, but funds are not going to the communities, to the regions, and I just cannot approve this. The way I understand the MOU is that we as a board will decide maybe how much will go to the regions, maybe how much will stay the statewide projects. Or maybe we don't put anything aside for statewide projects, but I want the funds to come to the regions, and I think the regions should make that process, should vet the applications, and then once vetted by the region, they should come to this board to be vetted by the whole board. I just cannot approve any more operational funds until I see somebody coming down to the regions.
I'd like to comment on that and spend a little time on this. We won't be making, there are formula that decide what goes to regions. The charge to us is to set up a process to make sure that the requests that come to the board are in line with the requirements of the grant. I don't anticipate, but we'll decide as a group that we would establish a fixed planning process, but the charge to us is to make sure that the regions have within each of their areas a fixed planning process. Some are long since established and have that in place, but what we need help with is designing the processes. And
well, I'm not sure, honestly, I'm not sure if the region is needed help. I mean, my region doesn't have to set this plan. I can create my own region.
so if I'm saying about that, the plan for what you wish to do with the funding should be present with the regions. What you have to do, as I understand the document, is demonstrate that you have a plan, that you have a process, that it includes, that it represents the needs of that particular community, that it's evidence-based, that
Well, I
you're
think the
not.
regions can do that. I disagree. I don't see an expert.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate your concerns, right? We're all feeling some level of frustration that, you know, here we are all this time later, we still haven't made enough progress to get money out to the regions. That being said, we're over time going to be giving away hundreds of millions of dollars in grants. So to me, the idea of setting it up correctly on the front end and having all the processes airtight. I understand you feel like you can do it for your region, but I don't in my region. I don't have that kind of expertise, and I don't want to take on the liability of not doing it right. So to me, to invest $30,000 to get it right for the hundreds of millions of dollars that we're going to give out is a sound investment up front. Again, I understand your frustration that that's taking away some money that we might give away eventually, but to do it right and to do it right from the beginning is, I think, the most critical thing we can do. So I really support the idea of getting the help that we need.
Jeff, and here's you, that the dollars for this aren't coming from settlement dollars, they're coming from McKinsey money. So it's not coming out of those, my understanding is it's not coming out of those dollars that'll be, that are there for distribution.
It's separate. The dollars that the McKenzie settlement that the Attorney General gave us is for operational use, not for grants. So this money they're requesting would come out of the McKenzie dollars, not out of settlement. So there would not be any money taken from the settlement once we get it.
And to your point, this will get that done more quickly, right? It'll get us up and running more quickly so we can start getting that money out of the region.
And here's your, so in your role and in Fred's role, you guys do a lot of grant making within your local board areas. So you guys have a little different perspective, much like in my county, I've written grants directly towards things. So I think we have a little different perspective. And I think that for what we're trying to accomplish here, I don't disagree that it seems like it's a lot of money. I don't want to take money away from any settlement dollars that are going out to the community. But with this money coming out of the McKenzie fund, and I think it being an expenditure, I would. Yes, I would like to see it set right, but that takes time to. Yeah, well.
Can you speak up, Glenn?
I said, it's in the overall perspective, it's only $30,000. Region 16 is waiting for this board to do something, to set up all of their grant procedures. What is this board looking for
you get out into the, who's gonna pay an attorney or someone to set this up for us and find out ours is not compatible with the Law Ohio Foundation? So we're sitting here waiting, in my mind, along with Catherine becoming interim, is getting this done. And the sooner we can get it done the right way, money's going to be able to come to the regions. Now, your situation may be different. For Region 16, we don't have the expertise. We're not going to go out and hire it because we don't have funding mechanisms. I do want to have one more comment. I mean, it's good we discussing this because it's my understanding some regions already creating an application process. So it's almost like we are on the back end a little bit of it.
So with that, some regions have, some have completed, some are in the process, and some are on hold. So there's 3 different stages. Each region is entitled to develop their process to fit their needs. Now, for those who have decided to wait because of lack of funding, lack of expertise, lack of time, till the foundation puts their piece in so that they can take it and tweak it and make it their own that fits their region. So I think this will help expedite all those regions that are in a holding pattern because they can't move forward. They are crippled by multiple barriers. I go back to, yes, $30,000 is a lot of money. Over the next 18 years, we are going to hopefully give away over $450 million and plus as settlements come in. These McKenzie dollars that were given to us by the Attorney General's office was specifically so that we can get this organization stood up and functioning. And so when I look at the cost, yes, it's expensive. But we have the dollars that don't take away from the region's allocation. So we're not taking any money away from the region. And we're going to be expediting a process that really could take months if we leave it up to the volunteer board to work at their availability to put this process in place.
Thank you.
Can I just add to, I mean, I've recommended to my region that we place our guidelines on hold until the foundation comes up with their guidelines. And maybe guidelines isn't the right word, but the foundation, in my opinion, has to have a minimum set of parameters that we need to be able to make sure that we can get these funds out efficiently. Once the regions know what those minimum parameters are, we can structure our applications. We decide what is priority for our region because we know the region, but we need those overarching guidelines.
And with the software that we are looking at, what would happen is one region, they have their process. It differs from your process. You put your application in for your project through the portal. Our system is going to pull what the foundation is requiring off that application. It will flag if there is information that is not there that is needed. And we will be going back to the region to say, hey, we need XYZ for this project. So when you're looking at the grant management software, there are checks and balances to pull the information that we're going to need.
We know what happens. Are you going to use, do you know what's forward they're going to use on like Salesforce?
I don't think we've
We
decided.
haven't decided. We are still looking and going through demos of the actual software.
But I'd like to comment on that. none of this should be a signal for every region to not be having right now conversations about what's needed in my community. That shouldn't be part right now. Those conversations should be going on. And in some cases, part of the technical systems that we have to establish may be learning from regions like yours, where there is a fixed process. Now, regions like yours, here's the way to do it. We're not gonna, I don't imagine, speaking for a group that hasn't convened yet, that we're gonna say to everybody, this is the way to do it. But people should be having conversations now in their regions about what are our needs? What do we need to collaborate on? What's missing? What could we do more? That should be happening now, and then we'll roll out as fast as we can a process that.
So for the regions that have already developed, do you have your policy and your application for your projects done, or are you still in the
I'm still in the process.
Okay. So would you be able to share information at the next board meeting as to some of the things that your region is doing to put that process together, or is it too early yet?
I mean, it will depend what you guys decide today, I should say. I mean, obviously, if moving forward this, I might recommend my region to pause our work. I mean, I don't, again, everybody there is a volunteer. I don't want us to, if we have somebody paid to create the process, maybe we'll jump on it and wait. So yes.
Thank you.
Well, I'm concerned we're gonna lose quorum, so we have a motion and a second.
But can I weigh
any-
in for a second? I have a question. This is Denise Treehouse. I'm from Hamilton County. We had our
I'm
region
sorry,
meeting.
yes, you have the need, please
Sorry?
speak up.
Okay, Denise Treehouse from Hamilton County. So we had our region meeting today and we went through our application process. And so I will happily share that to make sure we're on the right track. And it's not going to be crossways with what is established otherwise. As some of us, we're pretty far along. And I just want to make sure that everything is synced up.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Great, motion carries. And then just last order of business, we do have 1 month that's booked, and that's January 11th here at noon. We have not scheduled remainder of meetings because we were trying to schedule dates. The biggest problem was the legislators, and I talked to Senator McCauley. He is available on Thursday. We can do a quick straw poll and then send out, a doodle poll, but who is in favor of or can make Thursday meetings? He can't, then we'll
Say cannot.
can.
Is that the second or third Thursday? Do you know?
It would be the same, it just instead of, what is that, the second, so it'd be the second Thursday. So.
What time?
We see.
Same time, correct?
All right,
We had a question
so
of
let's
what,
do,
we had a question of what time.
it would be same time, yeah. I mean, clearly, we're not gonna be able to get 29 people at the same time. Can't really do that. So what we'll do is we'll send out a doodle poll, we'll find the best, and we can still get more. So Jules and Michelle, if you can do that, that would be wonderful.
I did completely change my board's directing meetings from the second Wednesday to the third Wednesday, to accommodate the meeting. I really hope it doesn't change a lot, because I'm gonna meet the person board.
Okay.
That has made a big change in their schedule. Just to accommodate this.
We will send out the poll. There'll be a couple days and times. And then please respond. Also, I have a request for all of the regions. If you could provide me when your next meeting date is, I'd appreciate that. So Connie and I can start planning. We will reach out to you and see if we are able to attend your meeting from there. But if you could please send those in as soon as possible, or as soon as you have one scheduled. We'd appreciate it. It'll just help with the planning process for Connie and I to start, part of that strategic plan of getting state regions and education to the regions on and what needs to be done moving.
Anything for open discussion?
So forgive me, I have a little bit.
Yes, and Joel, thank you.
Yeah.
We want to thank you so much.
It's very professional. You and us about this region. Always, you're welcome.
Much appreciated. I'm leaving you in the hands, the very capable hands of Michelle. And it has been a pleasure working with you all. Thank you very much.
All right, with that, we'll take a motion to adjourn. So moved. All in favor, mind saying aye. Opposed?
Very happy with everybody.
Thank you everyone who joined us via Zoom. We will now be ending this meeting. Have a great rest of your day.